I'm WCIA 3 meteorologist Jacob Dickey. We interrupt your programming now for a new tornado warning. This is for parts of Morgan County for areas to the south and southwest of Jacksonville. A tornadic storm now located near Whitehall on US 67, carrying off to the north and east at about 35 miles an hour. And that will be bringing it into parts of Scott and Morgan County here over the next 15 to 20 minutes. This particular warning does not include the city of Jacksonville. It does, however, include areas south of Jacksonville towards Murrayville. And that's primarily where we'll be focused with this coverage now, as this tornadic storm now coming up US 67 with some rotation on it, moving to the north and east at 35 miles an hour. If we draw a straight line on this storm is on some railroad tracks. It will come close to the city of Jacksonville, perhaps the south and east side, and eventually into perhaps eastern Morgan and north and western Sangamon County. That may happen here in the next half an hour or so, so we will stay with wall-to-wall coverage for this new tornado warning that's been issued for parts of Morgan, Scott, and Greene counties in the area. This is not our only storm that we're watching here. It is, however, the only storm that we have warned with a tornado warning at this point. There's a couple other little clusters that we're watching along the Interstate 55 corridor. Lots of folks here from Champaign south and eastward towards Vermilion County, Effingham, down to Casey, Toledo, Cumberland, Shelbyville. Not seeing anything right now. Some of those areas may not see anything at all. We are watching, though, another cluster of storms in Livingston County. No warning in place for there, but we'll talk about them real quick. And we do have a photo from Chatsworth I'd like to show in just a minute here. These storms are the storms that were earlier warned, particularly the one north and east of Chatsworth, earlier warned for a tornado down near Colfax and Cooksville. No warning on it now. This is carrying off to the north and east. Piper City sits here. Caberry and Kempton sits here. There's Cullum. Stell sits right there. There's Ashcombe. US 24 sits right here. And we've got 116 that sits right there towards Ashcombe. Those storms carrying into north and western Iroquois County. We will watch them closely. The National Weather Service has indicated that they're monitoring some area of rotation with that storm, but not immediately expecting a tornado. There's a number of spotters that are on the ground with this storm at this time. Other storms in the area, too, we're looking at these storms here from Fairbury, points to the south and west, as well as near Lexington and from Bloomington. Each one of these storms very much has a little bit of a rotation in them, and it won't be obvious on radar that they look impressive, but with the atmosphere today, plenty of wind shear, the instability, and a lot of that moisture in place, that's going to allow for these storms to become tornadic with little effort here into the region. If we have that Chatsworth photo, I'd like to bring that full screen now if someone has that and can let me know in the back. That photo, there was a report of a funnel cloud. We've shared that on our Facebook page, and that's not the right photo here. This was a new photo that I texted in. Those are photos that are old from yesterday. I'd like to get rid of those, and that photo came in from Andrew Pritchard. Lauren, if you see that photo from text message, and I can try and bring it also into the Apple TV here in a second. Let's go ahead and bring Max 1 up while I pull Apple TV up here. We'll show you the graphics. This is that tornado warning that we're watching now, and it continues for parts of Morgan County, the only warning we have on the board. But it's certainly worth watching. That storm ahead of the line and needs to be watched very closely as it moves to the north and to the east. All right, let's come back to me here on the screen, and I'll show you the tornado, I should say the funnel cloud report. This was reported near Chatsworth. You'll notice that the ground is here. This is that funnel cloud aloft. That came in at about 1 o'clock near Chatsworth. That storm now is in northern Ford County. No tornado warning on it. Some weak rotation. Spotters have their eyes on it and are monitoring. There was an indication that it got about halfway down here to the ground. If we want to bring the photo full, that way we can give a more impressive view of it. A little hard to see sometimes with the lights in the screen here. I'd like to see that. Again, this came from Andrew Pritchard. He's a well-respected storm chaser and meteorologist here in the Champaign-Urbana area, and caught this photo, and we got it from him at about 1 o'clock. No warning for that particular storm, but I suspect we will see more storms like this producing problems in the area. I will also show you real quick, this is Interstate 55 near Funks Grove. Again, from what we know at this point, Interstate 55 remains closed southwest of Bloomington, from the Shirley exit to the McLean exit, and that's going to cause a lot of travel problems. Traffic really backed up northbound in particular. It may be that the northbound lanes may have either the north or southbound may have opened back up. I don't have that information. From what we are able to tell, that remains closed in that area from all of that damage that has occurred from the flooding in that area. And let's go ahead and pull the storm tracker full also. This is where Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy is. We don't have to talk to him. I like his shot, though. He is out in parts of DeWitt County right now, and I can check his location here. Looks like he is very close to Farmer City on the east side of Highway 54. Looking at some water over the roadway. In fact, Farmer City last night got quite a bit of rain in there. He's out getting some footage and taking reports. His shot coming now live from DeWitt County near Farmer City, where flooding has been a concern and remains a concern for those areas here for the foreseeable future. I'm meteorologist Jacob Dickey. Let's bring the graphics back full here and show you what we're looking at area-wide. Of course, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy is in the field. In the storm tracker, we've got meteorologist Jack Gerfin and Amelia Henderson, both covering digital. We're all watching today because the concern is there that we may get some more activity, and that does appear to be the case now with this new tornado warning for southwestern Morgan County. Let's talk more specific about this warning. It's not quite into Morgan County, but likely at this point in Jacksonville. The Jacksonville area, let me check some information here. The Jacksonville area may stay just south of it. There still is some rain and storms, and we may have to watch that next cell located close to this Jacksonville right up here. Allow me to come full screen, and I'll point out some things for you. First off, this red polygon you see is the southwestern part of Morgan County. Here's Illinois 267, Illinois 967 through Woodson. Jacksonville sits here. You've got the lake in the southeast side of town, the prison on the east side. US 67 carries you south towards Greene and Jersey counties. Winchester is back here. This is mainly right now for Murrayville as it moves to the north and east. The storm's still in Scott County, but on that track here, Murrayville and Woodson, we're watching for you in particular. It may come close to Nortonville as well, and then eventually we'll cross 104 somewhere along and east of Jacksonville near Interstate 72 on its current trajectory. No warning extended for that, but we will continue to monitor that with this tornado warning now for parts of Morgan County in the area. I'm going to show you real quick some of the rotation that we're seeing in radar. This here is a look at reflectivity. We're looking at the brighter colors showing a more intense, a heavier signature for rain, maybe some small hail. And that's really good for intensity of storms. When we look at velocity, though, we're looking at how those particles are moving. And it is very obvious at this point that there's rotation very close to Rood House here. See the greens and the reds. The greens are going towards the radar. That's up in Lincoln. The reds are coming away from radar. And that rotation right here now, north of Rood House on the Scott-Greene County line, is carrying up US 67 into parts of Morgan County here in the next 15 minutes. I think Murrayville, at this point, we'd like you in your storm shelters, taking shelter from the storm. A fairly impressive, one of the better signatures that we've had all day of that storm now heading towards Murrayville and southwestern Morgan County. We'll take another look here, and I've got the chance to look not only at our Lincoln radar, but also our St. Louis radar, and see if we can detect any debris being lofted. What we look for in this is things, how the particles in the atmosphere are correlated. Right now we see a lot of red colors. The red color indicates a high degree of correlation. All rain, maybe some small hail. That's it. When we start to see blues come on, and if it's located correctly in the storm, that's an indication that the radar beam is sampling particles that are not correlated. What could that be? Could be damage, trees and buildings, shingles, 2x4s, other things flying through the air. I don't have the indication at this point that there's any damage happening. Still, though, because we don't see damage, doesn't mean there's not a tornado down. A tornado has to be down first to produce damage, and it has to hit something. So there still could be, at this point, based on what I'm seeing on radar, a tornado down near Rood House, moving to the north and east on US 67 towards Murrayville, and eventually in the general direction of south and east parts of Jacksonville in the area. We'll hit the reset button again. We are watching multiple different storms here. This one is the only tornado-warned storm and is the only one that we have here for central Illinois at this point. Remember, the tornado watch does go until 7 o'clock tonight. A lot of opportunity at a lot of time here. It's 1:35. This is our second tornado warning of the day. And this storm has some real estate where there's favorable ingredients ahead of it, too. So we've got to watch that, but we're watching primarily these areas in yellow. If you've gotten a tornado watch for your county, if we could bring that full screen, there's a couple of things to note. First off, that is scrolling at the bottom of the screen right now. And you'll see those counties if you're watching us on TV. If you're not watching us on TV, you're on our digital platforms, Facebook, Twitter, the apps also. Those platforms are not pulling that crawl, but you turn on CBS, we're there now. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, of course. You can see the information there. Those yellow counties, you got that notice first. If you have the WCIA 3 weather app, that's an important app to have. If there's alerts in your area, you get them. And it's important to note here for folks that if you haven't downloaded it yet, you can not only stream our coverage there, but you can get those alerts as we think there's probably going to be some more through the day today, the way things are shaking out already. Let's talk a little bit more here about the tornado warning, and this primarily is for our friends down in southwestern Morgan County. If you're under a tornado warning, remember, proceed to a safe place immediately. We encourage everyone to do that. That is a site-built structure and is a sturdy structure here. No mobile homes, no manufactured homes, no cars. We encourage you to leave those and head to a sturdy structure. If you're south of Jacksonville driving on US 67, stop at a gas station or nearest convenience store and you can get into shelter there. They've got sturdy shelter. Those refrigerated places are great places to go. In, down, and up, what we preach. In, inside, most interior room, as many walls between you and the outside of your home as possible. Down as low as you can, covering up with a blanket, pillows, mattress, whether you're down in a basement, down in a crawl space, you're down in an interior closet, hunkering down as low as you can and between as many walls as you can from the outside of your home will give you the best chance here for shelter. We also mentioned up. The word up also means covering up your head. A bicycle helmet, a great thing to have, as a bicycle helmet protects your head. Oftentimes, during severe weather, when there's tornadoes, the most common source of injuries or fatalities comes from head trauma. Using a helmet on your head. Get the kids' bicycle helmets. Put them on. Put one on for yourself also. Is a great way to stay safe and stay weather aware here for this. Here's a look at tornado safety. Of course, we think we may use this for more counties moving forward. The worst place to be, of course, cars, mobile homes, or under a highway overpass. I understand some folks have, watched TVs and movies and seen them shelter under highway overpasses, and they think that's a safe place to be. That is not a safe place to be. The winds actually accelerate under a highway overpass, and that's why we want you to keep moving down the list to a better source of shelter. There's no places down that way, from what I know, of large open rooms or manufactured housing. There is that, but large open rooms, a church, not a great venue if you're inside a church. You think of the church auditorium or the hall where you have your Sunday services. Those aren't great places. Open span ceilings, bad place to be. What we encourage instead is that you head towards an interior room or a basement of a well-built building, a foundation, a site-built structure. Tornado shelter or safe room also are important too. Sometimes if you're in a commercial area, they have that. An open span room eventually downstream. This information just good to have is if you're in a Walmart or a big box store, Target, some of these places that have great deals and shopping on the weekend, if there's a tornado warning issued and you find yourself in that, what you want to do is you actually want to head to the back of the store where the bathrooms are. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll say, oh, meet in the middle of the room. You aren't protecting yourself with that open span ceiling. Encourage them to go to the back of the store, fight them on it, say, hey, meteorologist Jacob Dickey said we go to the back of the store, and that's what you do to stay safe here. Let's bring me back full screen and do a reset on our storms that we're watching here now. One tornado warning in our area, and it's for a sliver of Morgan County at this point here. There's a lot of folks where no warnings are in place, and we hope that stays that way, but the atmosphere today does have plenty of instability. It has plenty of wind shear, which we think will allow for more storms and more warnings to come. Our whole team is watching things today, from Chief Meteorologist Kevin Leidy. He's out in Farmer City. We've got Amelia Henderson and myself in the studio. We also have meteorologist Jack Gerfin watching on our digital platforms here. We will watch it and keep you updated on all of these storms through the day, probably by about 7 or 8 o'clock. We think that the threat for severe weather will start to decrease, and again, then it turns to more of a flash flooding issue from then on out. This is the latest. The National Weather Service has continued to keep their tornado warning for Scott and Morgan County. This is south and east of Winchester, right on US 67, southwest of Murrayville. A slower moving storm. They have it moving at north and east at 35 miles an hour. The likely tornado over Manchester, and we'll continue to head towards Murrayville here. Manchester, if you're familiar with that area, is right in this area here, and there's Murrayville. US 67 dips to the north into Jacksonville. Then you can take the highway off to the east there. I believe that's going to be US 67 alternate. There's two of them. That's right. They've got the quick spur, and then they've got the Murrayville spur there that carry into Jacksonville. On the one to Murrayville is where we're worried that'd be eventually some of those roads popping up. Nortonville Road, Church Road, Midway Road, downstream in southwestern Morgan County. The rotation itself still in Scott County, but it continues to move off to the north and to the east. And based on that signature here, number one, the storm ahead of that line out by itself. Definitely a supercell thunderstorm. Number two, with the velocity imagery in here, those greens going towards, reds going away. There's your rotation signature sticking out like a tack on paper from this storm here. This will be moving to the north and to the east towards Murrayville at about 35 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and put a storm track on this to give some folks a heads up further down to the stream. And we do not have an extension of this warning, but based on what I'm seeing, that may very well come. The latest radar imagery just coming in there, and we can see it and watch it. This storm, as it moves off to the north and to the east at 35 miles an hour, eventually, to give you an idea here, this is an estimated time of arrival. Obviously, if you're in Murrayville, you're in shelter now. We'll give it about 1:50, though. The time now, 1:42. Pisgah at 2:05. We'll be in Alexander at 2:16. And then we start popping in some more Sangamon County areas. New Berlin and Curran at 2:26 and 2:38 on this path. Sometimes when these storms strengthen and the rotation really anchors in at the surface, they may take a little more of a right turn. So I don't want to rule out places like Waverly or over towards Auburn or Pawnee, Chatham, Glenarm, Divernon, places like that we'll watch for. But this seems to be, as of now, the most likely path to the north and east as it moves further into Morgan County here in the next little bit. The tornado warning that's in effect here from Morgan County will go until 2 o'clock. It is 1:43 now, and I suspect that the National Weather Service, based on it looks now, as we get closer to 2 o'clock, we'll see an extension of this warning. So heads up, this is a first heads up for Woodson, Pisgah, Nortonville, Alexander, potentially even the city of Jacksonville, especially those that live close to Interstate 72. You've got some time to think about what you will do in those areas, but we're also going to watch this storm pretty closely here right over the Jacksonville Prison at the Interstate 72 exit on the east side of town. Starting to look a little more concerning to me at this point, and I'll take a look at rotation on this one. And thankfully, nothing out there sticks out to me like the storm to the south does. But we're going to watch that storm closely. That would maybe affect areas on Illinois 123 north of Alexander in Morgan County. That's on the way to the north towards Ashland, up towards Pleasant Plains perhaps, and into parts of northwestern Sangamon County. So we will watch that storm as well, in particular, pretty close. What I want to do now is hit a reset. And Amelia, if you don't mind, I'd like to give you control of the cameras. If you can switch cameras for me, is that something you can help out with? We'd like to get the Springfield camera up, and I can do it here too if need be. But we've just got this one tornado warning for Morgan County. Let's zoom up to the north real quick and talk about the storms in Livingston County. You'll notice here as you see some of these greens and reds, not quite as strong, but close to Chatsworth. There's probably at least a weak area of circulation in that cell located there. And then another spot catches my eye closer to Ashcombe, that one moving off into Kankakee County. Weak at best now. No tornado warning for Livingston, Ford, and Iroquois counties. If one is issued, we'll jump right on it, but we at least are going to watch all of these storms particularly closely today as we see some of these individual cells with just a little wind shear and just a little instability taking full advantage of that today. And I'd like to show also the Chatsworth funnel cloud from 1 p.m. earlier from that batch of storms that's moving on through. So if we get the chance to show the Chatsworth funnel too, you could just pull that full screen when we have that. We'll show that one more time here and for the area. Some other housekeeping notes while we're looking for that Chatsworth funnel cloud photo. I will mention this. Some other news stories, weather-related. The Arthur fireworks did get postponed tonight. That we confirmed. If you're looking for other sources of fireworks cancellations or events, you can check the website. I know Tolono is having an event today. Things in Champaign County here are looking clear and dry right now. It's windy, it's humid, it's hot, it feels like summer. We don't have anything of concern for now in Champaign County. Whether that stays that way remains to be seen. The thought process behind our storms today is that this batch of storms will move north and east with a slight eastward component, and we'll see the intensity pick up here over the next several hours as the instability continues to increase with the wind shear across the day. So that's all I have for reports of that here. If we've got any viewer reports or anything of that, I'm watching the chat and monitoring things there. We'll keep you updated on our digital platforms. I haven't seen the Chatsworth photo. Do we have that? Okay, perfect. Here it comes. So we're going to show that here in a second, and we'll try and use it if we can. I see that there now. This was from Chatsworth at about 1 o'clock, an earlier storm report. I'll try and sometimes use my Apple TV, but once I get those photos back, if y'all can help me out and take care of those two, that'll be real helpful here so we can focus on the storms of the day. This was at 1 o'clock. Andrew Pritchard, he's a well-respected meteorologist, caught this funnel cloud. You can see it in the middle of your screen, extending about halfway down to the ground. And there was no confirmation of a touchdown, but that storm did have a tornado warning in McLean County before it carried to the north and east. And that's that batch of storms now from Chatsworth towards Piper City and Kempton up towards Ashcombe that are continuing to move out. Once they exit, I think the attention will turn more to the west and south here in parts of the area. So again, thank you so much for showing that in the back. Let's go ahead and bring the graphics full. What I want to do here is I want to show future track, and we're going to pull that in here and give you an idea of what we're looking for the rest of the day here. Bear with me 1 second as I switch the graphics over. Do we have that Springfield camera up? Is that available? It is available. If we could just pull that. This is looking off to the west and northwest a bit, it seems. And we're watching some of those storms as they are in the region. And we're going to keep a close eye on that storm that's down near Jacksonville as it moves off to the north and east for you and monitor things closely here. So we'll watch that and continue to monitor all of our cameras in the area. Amelia, if you can, let's switch to the Gibson City camera. We can catch maybe the tail end of some of those storms in southern Livingston County from that. And then we'll also maybe want to take a look at let's see, probably the Gibson City one at this point may show us some of those storms off in the distance. And I think that's a nice shot there from the Gibson Area Hospital looking to the north and west. The storm's now towards the right side of the screen and exiting the area. And that's going to be the focus for us here with that. So as I get this future track graphic up here, my computer is being a little bit little finicky sometimes. That happens. But we do anticipate that at least that we're going to see these storms continue. So here we go right now, and I'll show you here on screen with me on it, please. This is a future track what's showing it's supposed to look like right now. It's close. We'll look at the trend here, the trend being our friend with these storms. We know there's a cluster up here in Iroquois County. In fact, being 149, I'm going to advance this by to 2 o'clock. That probably a more accurate representation. There's that cluster of storms in northern Fort, Iroquois, Livingston County, some scattered showers and storms developing there, also picking up pretty close to our Jacksonville storm and others here. What we'll see is as we move forth is the storms will pick up in intensity, but also train over some of those same areas that have seen flooding. By 4 o'clock, we still may not have anything in Champaign-Urbana unless something pops out in front of it. Even Decatur would be knocking on the doorstep here. Springfield, probably 4 o'clock. You know, we're seeing that line of storms right up Interstate 55 and right on Illinois 54. And we'll continue forth here to 5 and 6 o'clock. Now we start to see storms coming into Monticello and Champaign, passing Decatur, passing Taylorville. That should be the end of the event for Springfield and Lincoln once that line passes. And then even into 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock. Here we go. Still some stronger clusters there showing up. But the idea, the thought process is by 8 o'clock, the instability starts to go away. The sun starts to set. We'll be letting these storms be lesser in intensity, I'll say. I won't guarantee that, but that should be the trend once the sun goes down. And we may keep the chance there for a little bit longer. But some heavy rain, that will be what things turn to more based on what we're looking at here at 9 and 10 o'clock. by 10 o'clock, looking all good here. I think the 10 o'clock news will happen and should be able to go home and get a nap before we do the morning show tomorrow, and maybe watch for more severe storms tomorrow. Overnight tonight, then some rain showers and a few storms will continue through the area. And then tomorrow morning, we'll probably start things off more dry before we watch more storms tomorrow. We'll worry about that later. Of course, our focus is with this round of storms, with this tornado watch until 7 o'clock tonight for the counties that are in yellow. This will include Gibson City, Watseka, Pontiac, Bloomington Normal, Champaign-Urbana, Danville. It'll include Farmers City and Clinton, Monticello, Decatur, Sullivan, Shelbyville, Pana, Taylorville, Springfield, Petersburg, Lincoln, Jacksonville, and Beardstown. And we'll watch and see if they don't cut some back eventually. But right now, that seems to be the corridor, if you're near one of those communities, where we're going to watch for the best chance for severe weather for the next several hours. Let's head back to the radar here and get an update on things. Looks like we've got Kevin driving around. I don't know, have we heard from Kevin? Is he called in or not? He's not. So he's out driving around and getting some of the flood damage. In the DeWitt County area. Looks like he's still in the Farmers City area down there, and we've seen some flood video. We'll have more information on the flooding and some of the water rescues that have happened overnight on the WCIA 3 News at 6 o'clock. Right now, of course, the focus will be on these tornado warnings into the area. This is a look right here. There's one tornado warning for our area, and you can see in Morgan County, just checking some new information there. Morgan County, this one cell here, it's small. Normally when we look at storms, they look pretty big. You think back to the storm that dropped a couple of tornadoes near Ironsville back in May 3rd. It was a bigger supercell storm. These are miniature versions of that, but they're still able to produce rotation and drop tornadoes. And we've had that happen yesterday. We fully expect that may happen again in spots today. And then off to the south and west here, some folks are asking about this second warning. This one may follow closely in its footsteps, though that's towards Calhoun County, Illinois, Pike County, Missouri. A ways away. We'll worry about that later, but we've got our eyes on it. Our focus primarily for our viewing area is in Morgan County, and as well with some of these other showers and storms that are developing. Let's talk a little bit more here about the flooding that's in the area. I'm going to bring up my severe alerts map, and it's going to show a lot of colors on here. First off, the yellow color in place, the tornado watch. The green color is also a flash flood watch. I'll show you that individually here in a second. Most of the flood warnings have been cut back, and we have no flash flood warnings at this point. That's what this map is going to show you. That may change, though, as we go later on today. In fact, up by Chicago, they're dealing with more tornadoes in the Chicago metro, more flooding up there. As these storms continue to train over the areas that have seen flooding, that very well may be a concern. You'll see those alerts on the bottom of your screen on TV. You'll also get it on the WCIA 3 weather app if you happen to be in an area that gets a flash flood warning. Not everyone will, but given what we're seeing with this flash flood watch in the region through at least tomorrow morning, there's a chance that area-wide we could see that here into the region. All right, we did just get a new update on the tornado warning. It has been extended. We told you that may happen. The time now 1:53. This is going to be for Morgan County, an extension to areas that we had mentioned just to the south and east of Jacksonville. If you live north of Interstate 72, this storm will not be a problem for you. North of 72, in the city of Jacksonville, I should say. Once we get east of Jacksonville, then it will likely cross 72 somewhere close to Alexander. Woodson, Pisgah, Alexander are in the path of this tornado, and we're going to call it at this point likely tornado. No confirmation, but the signature continues to look impressive with this storm now here as it's now to the north of Murrayville by about 3 miles, approaching US 67, Illinois 967, Illinois 267. That network of roads there. There's a lot of folks that live in that area, a lot of houses, and it's almost similar to Mahomet to Champaign, this part of the area. As this storm lifts north and eastward through there, Woodson, Clements, Pisgah, Reese, up towards Alexander are the next towns in the path. This does not include the city of Jacksonville, though I suspect that the sirens have sounded county-wide into the area. And with that, oftentimes the National Weather Service issues warnings based on parts of counties here. This is for central and eastern Morgan County, but the issue is with the siren system. It's an old World War II era system. Those are blanket warnings. You most of the time can't issue those for, you can't sound the sirens just one at a time. You either blow them for the whole county or you don't. So folks probably checking in from Nortonville and Waverly, Jacksonville, even towards Chapin, and up north in 78 heading in towards Cass County, probably hearing sirens in areas that have them. The primary focus of this warning, though, Murrayville, give me a couple more minutes to make sure it's passed. Woodson, Pisgah, Alexander. crossing Illinois 104 from Interstate 72 between there and Waverly, probably close to Pisgah. Alexander, the exit 123. On Interstate 72, this storm also there. At this point, I'd like to give an all clear to Murrayville, but Woodson, stay in your shelter. If you're just north and east of Murrayville, go ahead and stay with me for shelter for a little bit here as we watch these storms continuing off to the north and to the east. This storm, as small as it looks, still has some indications of rotation in it here. And that's going to be the case for us as we watch here. Maybe from the latest update, we still see some of those greens and reds close by near Woodson. The radar is a bit far away, so there's still some real estate below the radar beam. Remember, the radar beam, it doesn't hug the ground. It actually shoots away at an angle and will push a little bit of angle. As the Earth curves underneath it, the angle gets higher and higher the further away it is. So below this, probably some tighter rotation near Woodson in Morgan County. Again, Jacksonville sits here, US 67, Illinois 967, Illinois 267 straight south. This is Illinois 104. If you come from Jacksonville, that takes you eventually into Waverly, Auburn, Pawnee. Not worried about there. We think that's staying more in Morgan County, Alexander, and eventually parts of Sangamon County, maybe further downstream for this particular tornado-warned storm will continue. What we got here is one tornado-warned storm. Morgan County, our primary concern at this point, but boy, is there a lot of real estate downstream. You draw a straight line here, some railroad tracks. Let's just talk about where the storm may be heading. Sangamon County, perhaps southeastern Menard County, could be Springfield and areas north and west of Springfield, perhaps Logan County. There's a lot of time for it to get there. A slower moving storm, the National Weather Service only has it moving northeast at 30 miles an hour, but it still looks like we're continuing to see some rotation in it according to the National Weather Service. Let's talk about some other areas here again. Our primary coverage this afternoon from Morgan County and areas with tornado warnings. We know there are, I will mention also, there are some river flood concerns. There's no flash flood warnings. There are some river flood warnings and other things like that. These areas up here bringing some downpours, more tropical in nature. Here's Piper City. There's Cullum. You've got Kempton, Caberry, Stell, Clifton, Ashcombe, a lot of heavy rain up there. No reports of any tornadoes in that batch of storms. There's been some weak rotation trying to wobble around here. It hasn't established itself, but is still worth watching and worth keeping an eye on here. And I'll show you on our velocity product. You can kind of see maybe right here some of those reds and greens to the south and east side of Kankakee. No warning there, that's out of our area, but that's kind of what we watch with these storms as they try and spin up a bit into the region. Other storms to note here in parts of McLean County. This little cell here near Lexington has my eye, and will continue to have my eye for a little bit, kind of out by itself. Not all that impressive looking, but it doesn't take much for rotation to spin up. And so we'll watch this. This one will be heading towards Chenoa, Weston, Lawndale areas north of Cooksville, north of Colfax, potentially downstream Fairbury Forest. We'll watch and see what happens with that individual cell for you. And then further down the line, you really kind of see these are a little more impressive here. This is Tazewell County here, Illinois 122, Illinois 9. Of course, Route 9 comes from Bloomington. You go east from Bloomington, you pass the airport, eventually you drive into Gibson City after about 25 miles. You go west of town, takes you past the Mitsubishi area and into Tazewell County near Tremont. This storm near Minear is going to be close to the Olympia School District. Their school sits right down in here. And if it carries to the north and east, we'll watch for it near Bloomington. Not overly impressive, but again, the bar a bit lower today on how it looks on radar based on what we're seeing. So we're going to watch that storm, even the one now in northwestern Logan County. And that's going to be near San Jose, Emden, Orville. There's Lincoln down there. Here's New Holland. You drive north from New Holland, you catch up to 136. It will be heading that way and eventually could be a McLean County issue. So we'll watch that one also. And then some more intense showers and thunderstorms coming in here. Cluster of storms near Petersburg, near Lake Petersburg, off to the south and west towards Ashland and Litterbury. And then, of course, that tornado warning we have in Morgan County. Let me check in with Kevin real quick. I don't